And welcome back, everyone. We are No Shots Fired. It's been a bit, but we're here with episode 47. I'm going to guess our third one of this year. Does that sound about right?
We actually had a pretty good streak going until I biffed it up.
Having a child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
you know.
that was your bad. Doc.
I thought this might be a mistake, but then, what can you
The
do?
important thing, though, is that we are back now for episode 41, which we've already titled Amiibo.
A little more feeling. I was hoping in that one. Amiibo.
I couldn't do it. I thought about it, but I just
Okay.
didn't have the energy. But you nailed that perfectly. So maybe you should take us down through the topics. I don't know. Like that energy.
Oh boy. I have a crippling addiction to Amiibo. That's the problem. We're going to talk about Divinity Original Sin, the original one. Then Final Fantasy VI. Some hot Pokemon news coming out today. Very exciting. Our classic D&D update. And then dive into our topic. Sequels, changing versus refining. And then, as always, the mountain of questions we always have at the end of our podcasts.
Right. Sort through the pile.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you're lucky, if you're lucky out there, viewers.
But I think we'll start off with some Divinity Original Sin talk.
Well, Jay Money, longtime friend of the podcast, and I have been jumping into Divinity Original Sin. And I remember, Doc, years ago, probably closer when it first came out, you and I tried to start that journey.
we can say we did a little bit, but never quite.
We only got to, so the premise of the game is you're source hunters. We're out there to weed out the sorcery in the world, and I guess that's basically the concept. And so we're investigating the mystery of Counselor Jake and all of the nefarious underpinnings of his murder, as it turns out. But yeah, Doc, you and I didn't even make it to the town where we're supposed to investigate the murder. We got caught up at the bridge leaving the town. I think it's the last place we were. But
We got to some portal area,
oh, right, and that'll take.
and then I think I kept distracting everybody by just turning into a rock, which was a very fun ability. The game's I think it's a very cool game. We just never quite. That's the one where you can rock paper scissors your co-op person if there's a disagreement as to how to.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's funny that in the first game you're source hunters because in the next one you are accused of being sorcerers.
Ah.
So, little bit of a flipping of the roles there.
Oh.
Jay Money and I, though, vigilantly hunting out the sorcerers in the world. Yeah, but I really like the game mechanics. So,
Now,
unless you run around the world in real time and the battles are all turn-based,
okay, that was going to be my question.
which is cool. And if you want, like Jay Money has me, so it's a four-man team, and Jay Money lets me handle me and the other two members, and he usually just runs off and is doing stuff by himself. But then when battles arise, one of us, whoever is currently being engaged by the enemy, will warp in usually. So we don't abandon each other. But yeah, it's kind of cool. You can completely do things at your own speed and separately if you want. You can go and talk to people, and you can also kill anybody in the game, which is interesting.
I remember testing that in our brief time. Now, Jay Money's got a new computer, I've heard through the grapevine. Is that correct?
New rig. Yeah, he's rocking all the games now.
So he should be stream capable, is what I'm hearing.
It's a good point. How
Lazy
much Jay
son of a
Money
bitch.
loves streaming.
Being stream capable and actually wanting to stream are, of course, two
Well, I
entirely
want to
different
watch
things.
Divinity Original Sin. I don't want to have to play it.
Perfectly fair.
Well,
Cater to me.
Didn't my
That's what I'm
word
saying.
journey help you?
It's a game I would have liked to play more, just never quite got the momentum on it for whatever reason. Probably because I'm lazy would be my main
It
issue.
actually took Jay Money and I a while to overcome. We also started very slowly, like you and I did. But then we learned the secret of the quick save hotkey and the quick load hotkey was a big help.
Okay.
Because going and playing for like a half hour, then dying, or then getting the entire town mad at you because J Money likes to pickpocket everybody, and they don't like that if he gets discovered. So it's nice to have an undo button.
Gotcha. Okay.
And not just lose a half hour, and then both of you decide you don't want to play anymore.
So, what kind of hour count are you guys in so far? Would you say?
Boy, we're probably up there. I mean, we're probably 25-ish.
Okay. Now
it's bigger.
It's a pretty big game, right?
Bigger game than I realized. Yeah.
Okay.
At first, I thought the max level was like 20. That's not the case. And I think we're 13. And
okay.
We also both thought that there was only like one. The initial map is the only map, and you can go from map to map, and
there's more.
There's a third map.
Oh no!
We thought maybe the second map was the only one. Now there's a whole new third map. I mean, we killed the undead king that they were trying to resurrect. They did resurrect him, and we killed him. And I think we both thought we were getting close to the end, but no. Apparently, the undead king was resurrected too soon, and he is just child's play compared to the real plot. That is.
I say, is anyone named Undead King like ever one actually like undead, and two ever actually like the main bad? It's always like this guy was just some piece of shit.
Well, to me, it just sounds like a D&D session where you guys killed the main boss way too quickly, and now the DM has to backpedal on the 15 hours of plot he had planned.
I feel if I ever come across an undead king, I'm just like, nah, I'm not even bothering. Let's move on.
That was back when we thought there was only one map and we'd explored almost all of it.
Okay, yeah.
And then we
time to wrap it up.
It's like, all right, it's been a faster game than I thought it was. Then we got to the second map, and then we discovered a whole new element. Apparently, there's not just earth, wind, water, and fire. There's tenebrium. And you need that. You need that to kill certain people.
The lesser known jazz fusion era of Earth, Wind, and Fire's storied career.
Exactly.
What was it again?
Tenebrium. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Tenebrium.
At least come up with ridiculous names for Earth, Wind, Fire, and whatever, water, right? Because you can't come at me with tenebrium after those.
I can talk to animals in the game.
Okay. Are they eloquent?
They usually give you hints about what's going on and wherever you are, because they're very perceptive. Well, and they're mostly rats. But then you got to be careful, because if your partner likes killing all the rats, then sometimes you can't get that little avenue for hints. So
okay.
You got to talk to him before J Money shoots them with his bow and arrow.
Okay, but none of them just like lead you to a cheese horde or anything like that.
No, they just kind of randomly. It's weird how they just kind of arbitrarily run around the map squeaking, and then.
Opportunist. I was hoping it would just lead you to a cheese horde.
No. There are rabbit holes in the forest, and sometimes the rabbits store up goodies. So.
Okay. That's something, I guess.
I think we can safely shut the chapter on Divinity Original Sin.
Speaking of co-op RPG experiences, I've begun Final Fantasy VI with my 3-year-old son.
Oh.
Because I've learned that that has a co-op mode where you can give people control of specific characters. And a turn-based RPG means that reaction time isn't really an important aspect.
Sure.
So I can just tell him to go just hit this button, and he's just hitting it the entire time. And when the meter fills up, he attacks. And I go, "You did it, good job," and we move on. So, started that campaign, realized that it's a bit of an intense start to the story, but we did okay. Because we were, I say,
When you say intense start to the story.
Well, Terra's being controlled by a slave crown. You're being you're controlling the two Wedge and Vix, two guys. And you're like, oh, okay. And then they turn out to be bad guys, which we had to explain because he wanted to be Vix. And I was like, all right, fine. And then the frozen Esper vaporizes them. He's like, "Where'd they go?" I was like, "They went away. It's fine."
Wait, does he start that game as bad guys?
Well, you start like Terra is leading the two bad guys to they're taking her to the Esper because she has a connection to them. Espers are like the summoned monsters of that game.
Got it.
Have you guys not played Final Fantasy 3/6?
I think we did, but I don't remember any of this. What is the one?
So it's the last one on the Super Nintendo. Popular internet opinion is that it's the best Final Fantasy. Period. Which I do not subscribe to.
Wow.
I don't even think it's the best one on the Super Nintendo, but that's just me. That's my hot take. There's too many characters. There's like 18 characters in the stupid game. I can't keep track of them, and I don't care about half of them. So
that does tend to be a little bit of a problem with games like that.
But no, it's been good because we've been trying to play Mario games quite a bit, and he's like, "Oh, let's play Mario." I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to get you to jump over that first Goomba, and we're still kind of stuck on that. So let's try this for a bit." Well, we get that reaction time kind of down.
Right, or it doesn't really matter how long it takes you to get to the button.
Yes. But
actually, I had a good question there. Most important question I have for any game: can you rename the characters?
Oh yeah. So I've he is deciding names. So Terra has now become my daughter's name.
Got it.
Locke, the thief, is Sam. So and then and Shadow, the dark ninja with the dog, is Daddy. So
you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. In our thing, but then when you like read the text, that's Daddy over there. So it's just a little
weird.
We'll see how the rest of the naming goes. It should be interesting.
Yeah, he's gonna run out of names there pretty quick. Now I'm curious, as a father, why you didn't discourage him from being the thief. I feel like that's gonna lead him down a path of. That's a slippery slope, right?
I mean, Locke is kind of the main character of the game, for lack of it, for a game with so many characters. I was like, well, and we don't. I'm not, I'm not making him, steal every time and all that stuff. So I don't even know if I think I referred to him as a treasure hunter, which is what he refers to himself in the game as. So not a thief, treasure hunter. So. But
I'd also like to give a shout out to somebody who has shown up in chat and immediately left. Showed up asking if he can get some advice.
I immediately asked what advice he was looking for.
I actually didn't want to address it in real time on the stream, because I feel like that's usually going to lead to a very bad question, but I kind of feel like addressing it now. You know what? Who shows up, asks that, and then says, "Oh, it's not worth my time"? Or do you think they do immediately want that? "Oh yeah, sure. What kind of advice do you want?" And then they ask ridiculous questions.
I like to think that in the course of our discussion just now, we answered his question.
We answered the question. Yeah,
I think,
right.
Yeah. He was like, "Well, what game can I play with a 3-year-old?" And I, immediately started going into it. So I think that's
all right.
But yeah, so that's been fun. Continuing to try to force video games on my children. So, speaking of that,
yeah,
Pokemon.
Yeah. Speaking of perfect segue.
Yeah, new Nintendo Direct today. More information on the upcoming Switch games, Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Revealed quite a bit of new information. There's I guess one of the biggest takeaways is that there's areas called wild areas in between the towns where you actually have full camera control.
Interesting.
Which is a big change for the Pokemon series. And also there's Pokemon, you can see Pokemon in the environment, similar to Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
Okay.
Which I think, I was hoping they would still have that in some capacity. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they kept where you can pick a Pokemon to follow you and just be your buddy, which is a bummer. But this is that's definitely a cool aspect of it, because kind of seeing them in the world made it much more kind of lively and
Sure.
I think it definitely showed footage of still random encounters, but like if you're trying to search for a specific one, go into those areas, you can kind of not waste as much time, which would be good. And then, so the last several Pokemon games have had kind of this power-up mechanic. In the last generation, it was Z moves, where you do like one extra powerful move of whatever type of crystal you had. Before that, it was certain Pokemon could Mega Evolve, where their stats would get a big boost. This generation, they have named it Dynamax, where you like suck the Pokemon back into the Pokeball, use a wristband to like charge up the Pokeball, and release a giant version of that Pokemon onto the field of battle. Which lasts
behind that?
Oh, come on. If we're not questioning how Pokeballs work, which that just like shoves them into this tiny virtual space.
Yeah, Pocket Universe.
That's been the case for the last 20 years. I think we could be fine with. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it gets bigger. It's fine. I think it only lasts for like 3 turns or so. So kind of an interesting kind of
only.
Well, strategy mechanic in that aspect of it. And then there's also
Dynamax theirs.
Can what?
Can your opponents Dynamax back at you, or are you the only one with?
Yes. Yeah. So they showed like a gym leader battle where the gym leader battle threw it down first, and you're like, oh yeah, huge grass monkey. Boom.
Sure.
Get ready for that. But they also had things that looked like called max raids, where you could connect with like 4 or 3 other people, and then you would like go into this like wormhole thing where there'd be a gigantic Pokemon that you'd battle together, and then try to like catch that. So like they said that those would pop up at various points, and like depending on time of day, weather, stuff that would affect like which Pokemon you'd see in there and that kind of thing. So kind of a cool multiplayer aspect that I think is kind of new, because typically the multiplayer in Pokemon's been trading and battling. That's about it. So it's kind of a more co-op thing is definitely piques my interest more. Then they revealed the legendaries, which is a big wolf with a sword in its mouth.
Ooh.
And then another big wolf with a shield for like a face, basically.
Big wolf with a sword in its mouth is a boss in Dark Souls.
Oh yeah. There's been a lot of pictures of various dogs with weapons. So, obviously a well-trod area, but also obviously a popular one, because I went on Amazon and it said Pokemon Sword bestseller. Pokemon Shield. It didn't actually make that noise, but that's what it felt like. So
you don't like the shield face dog?
I don't not like it, but it's hard to go against a wolf with a sword in its mouth.
I don't know, but if it faces a shield, is there even a weak point?
Yeah, well, but I was hoping they would look. They also look kind of similar.
They look very similar.
So I was kind of hoping there'd be a bit more, because usually I choose the version based on the legendary. That's awesome.
Yeah, honestly, this looks like one of those legendaries that has different forms. So, I would be very unsurprised for them to say that there's an item you can get to switch it from sword mode to shield mode and vice versa.
I doubt that, because they want you to buy both versions. Get that money. But that would be cool. That would be cool.
To purchase both versions besides the legendaries. I mean, usually
nope.
There are Pokemon exclusive to one version.
But you can trade those easily, but no one wants to give up their legendary Pokemon.
Can you not trade your legendary?
You can, but I'm just saying nobody, like, people would be like, oh yeah, I want the God Pokemon that you could only get 3 games ago for it. And you go, well, I don't have that. And they go, well, get out of here. We may have talked about this earlier, but it basically takes place in a region that's analogous to Britain, which I enjoy. The look looks very cool and Britishy.
Is there any voice acting?
I hope not. I don't know. I don't think Pokemon have had voice acting. Beyond the Pokemon's cries of battle.
We could talk about, we saw Detective Pikachu.
Oh!
We did.
I'm so jealous. I've had
It was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
I say the trailers and everything. I'm like, oh, this looks so good, just fun. But I've had to choose my movie going experiences carefully, and I'm gonna go see Godzilla on IMAX because I just need the biggest screen possible to shove that in my
I
face.
don't blame you one bit.
So I will see Detective Pikachu as soon as I can in a local setting. But I'm glad to hear that it got a positive review from you guys. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Nostalgia factor, plus,
Ryan Reynolds basically carried the movie.
yeah, also, he was fantastic.
Not surprised. Also, at least the trailers have made me not abhor Mr. Mime, which I didn't think was even a thing that was possible.
I know.
Mr. Mime part was pretty funny.
Because
And I'm not a big Mr. Mime fan.
but in every other medium, it's like, no, get out of here. I hate you. Get out.
That whole sequence is very, very good. Yeah, you'll enjoy
Very
it.
good,
You'll
very
definitely
good.
enjoy it. And so will all of those viewers at home. Presumably, I would imagine anybody who's played the original games or likes Pokemon will like it. But
I can vouch for the Sun and Moon cartoon. At least as something that small children will enjoy a lot. It's on Netflix. I actually have because I remember like watching the original one, just being like, "Oh, Ash sucks,"
Yes, he does.
and they've really seemed to have taken that to heart. Because like in this one, he's just good because he's just like he doesn't really get upset at anything, and he's just like, "Oh well, we tried," and then like no one like all the battles are basically like, "Oh, we're having fun." So it's actually something I kind of like letting my kid watch because it's kind of a very positive, not really focused on winning at all costs kind of thing, kind of like the enjoyment of the thrill of competition for itself sort of thing. And plus I get him to say Togedemaru, which is really funny to hear a 3-year-old say, so that's good.
And that's the thing, like that's what's important.
Speaking of Togedemaru, Dungeon.
I was gonna wait for. I thought you had a great transition there, but yes, Dungeons and Dragons. That brings us right to the Dungeons and
There you
Dragons
go.
update.
Alright, so a couple of different developments. The Lord of the Rings campaign is officially dead because the Dungeon Master is moving in about a week. My campaign is near its end. I would say like 3 more sessions-ish, and it'll be at least at the end I have planned for now, and we'll do something a little bit more low tier in terms of what things I'll be dealing with and power level they'll reach. I might try and formulate a Lord of the Rings style campaign myself, where they only get up to about level 8 or so. And really it's just the beginnings of an idea right now. I don't have any
Okay.
solid plans
Is it-
beyond that.
Is that level cap just kind of making it easier for you to do like enemies, or?
It's both to make creating enemies easier and to make it feel more in tone with how Lord of the Rings is
Okay.
as a setting. Anything past that point and you're at the point of like the ancient heroes of men, and then you can get at a certain point you just start making Gandalf and Sauron and the Balrog look like they shouldn't even be bothering.
Well, is that because is there a specific like Lord of the Rings playbook you're working out of?
No, there is not.
Well, if you're doing one of the earlier ages, that would be kind of be the case, right? Because they talk about
would
how much
be
more
a-
powerful they were back then.
Yes,
New
that
and
would be a
Origins and
possibility. Like I said, this is just the beginning of an idea so far because my campaign hasn't actually reached its end yet, and I just wanted to get a feel for what sort of thing people would want to do
Okay.
before committing to it. The Star Wars campaign is in full swing.
I didn't even realize you were doing Star Wars.
Say, have we heard about that one before?
This is a side effect of not having done a podcast
Yeah,
in
that's
3
true.
months.
That's true.
And also why I am doing a very quick update on all the campaigns.
All right, who is playing as Zuckuss? Is my question.
Zuckuss?
Yes.
I don't know what Zuckuss is.
Oh, I'm disappointed. Bounty Hunter. Empire Strikes Back.
Oh.
It's fine. Okay. I'm a jerk. Keep
Big
going.
fat one. He's like
Yeah, he's
like
got like
Robbie,
a bug
right?
mask and yeah.
really solid bounty hunter. Really,
Yeah.
he almost had Han. He was this close.
Yeah. They don't show it, but there's subtextual clues about how close he was.
I am playing the only outright Force user in the group.
Okay.
We have 3 Mandalorians in the group.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody wants to be Boba Fett.
Come on.
And kind of hates Jedi.
Okay,
Well, Force users in general.
not to derail this, but can anyone explain the Boba Fett thing to me?
Yeah, I know.
Like
His
in the movies,
armor.
he's like basically like a complete non-entity, just like some jackwagon.
Because his armor looks awesome.
Like he's got a cool
His
helmet,
armor looks
but
awesome.
that's
Yeah,
he's
his
on
armor-
screen for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's an awesome helmet though, man.
And also,
He wasn't easy. He wasn't that hard to take down either.
No,
Darth Vader does
we're not like a punk.
introduce him with no disintegrations, which I think a lot
And yet,
of people
but
like.
we don't see any disintegrations, do we? So
He follows.
put up or shut up,
Follows
Boba
orders.
Fett.
Only,
There's the medic guy who is
a Mandalorian medic.
no. I was. He's actually just a regular human.
So there's 5 people. In
There's 6 or 7. Let me
wow.
get.
Oh, big one.
He says his comparison is he looks like Steve Buscemi,
Oh,
and he is on the run from from the Black Suns group, which basically does a little bit of everything: slave trading, drug trafficking, all that fun stuff.
Why is he on the run from them?
He was supposed to heal a mob boss's son and ended up killing him.
Got it.
Wow.
Classic. All right.
He also
Do-
may not have a medical license.
oh well.
Good man to be a medic then.
Do you have a lightsaber?
Do what now?
Do you have a lightsaber?
Do you-
Yes, I do. I started out with the Jedi class, which one of your starting things is a lightsaber.
What color is it?
Silver.
Silver.
I don't even know what a silver. I don't think I've seen that done before.
They are an option in the Knights of the Old Republic games.
Okay.
And there's a
Oh,
little like chart somewhere online about what each of the different colors represents.
Oh, okay.
I finally charged that up, so I had to.
I don't blame you. It's the perfect time to use it.
There you go. You guys should all get one. It's great fun.
There's one player who's essentially playing a droid that is the best descriptor I came up with is they're playing female Bender.
Okay.
Well, what function do they serve? Cracking wise.
Comic Relief Classic.
Yeah.
Cracking wise and
I mean, like,
computer use, knowledge
Got it.
technology, things like that.
Are they like an astro tech droid, like R2D2? Are they?
There's something really weird that from the expanded universe that I haven't heard of called a shard,
What?
which is like a race of sentient rocks.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, so
Why?
so it's not a droid?
They're a silicon-based species. Yeah, that's not a droid. It's just
they're not really a droid because they are actually force sensitive sometimes. But they can be installed in specially modified droids.
Oh,
which is,
so
okay.
there's something installed in a droid.
the expanded universe gets a little nutty, and the Dungeon Master has basically said pretty much everything from it is canon.
Okay.
But how isn't there a lot of contradictory expanded universe canon?
Yes, there is.
How can you have everything be canon?
That's kind of why whenever I run a Star Wars campaign, I say, okay, these things are canon. Anything else is an ask for basis.
Sure. But hey, whatever. It's not your
The Sun Crusher.
Yes.
That was in one of those books, right?
Multiple Death Star pluses that.
Well, this was a ship. Just a ship, I think. Okay, yeah. Thrawn, I get it. He's blue.
And last but not least, we've got a Gungan mechanic.
Gungan? Okay.
As long as he doesn't...
Gungan, that's Jar Jar Binks, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's basically Jar Jar Binks.
How does he talk?
He talks like Jar Jar Binks.
How is this game still going?
He is not completely incompetent. That's about the only way that we haven't all gone Office Space on him in character.
I'm not even sure competency could save that if he talks like that.
Two of the players, the one who plays the Force-sensitive droid shard thing, and one of the Mandalorians is not there consistently. So it's 5 consistent players, and then 2 people who pop up every once in a while.
Okay. How many of you are going to be end up being a Skywalker?
None of us are going to end up being a Skywalker.
You say that
I think
now.
the only one who theoretically could is the Doctor.
So that's definitely a Skywalker then.
Steve Buscemi as a Skywalker.
I see it.
And they don't know this yet, but everyone in the party is Force sensitive.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
That was a decision by the Dungeon Master.
So what time frame is this taking place in?
600 years after the original trilogy. We're exploring the unknown regions.
So not even the Outer Rim. This is
beyond the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
So you're gonna run into Thrawn then.
Run into what?
Thrawn. That's where he comes from.
I think we're gonna run into the true Sith. Is what the Dungeon Master has.
What's the true?
What does that mean?
They're from a bit of the expanded universe I actually like. They are the one who started the tradition in the first place, and they are basically all rotten to the core.
The tradition of only having 2 stupid people doing stuff?
No, that was Darth Bane.
Darth Bane? Really?
I mean, it's not as bad as Savage Opress.
I don't know. Darth Bane's pretty bad.
I think they should have like a Darth at that point. Darth Dark, maybe? That'd be a good one.
Darth.
Wait, can we do a Star Wars campaign? I want to be a character called Darth Dark.
And I'll be Darth Light. And then we're really going places.
See if there is just like a list of Darths, because I know there are some bad ones.
Plagius. Sidious.
Darth Venomous.
That's not
Darth
good either.
Bandon.
I thought it was Darth Brandon for a second, which would also be a great one.
That'd be
Come on,
good.
Darth Brandon.
Darth Gregory.
Darth Cadus.
That's good.
I'm starting to see why the expanded universe was flushed down the toilet.
There were some good bits of it, but...
Darth Tenebris. He brought Tenebrium into... I'm seeing the connections now.
Spoilers for Divinity Original Sin.
Oh, I would love if the Sith are behind everything nefarious going on.
Oh, that'd be real good.
Serial? Cyreal?
Okay. So the expanded universe is a real hodgepodge of stuff.
Yeah, it's the Thousand Monkeys.
How does combat work with a lightsaber?
They had to actually balance the lightsaber for combat. Otherwise, you'd just be, eviscerating everyone.
Okay.
You deal 2d8 plus strength modifier damage, and they're
still pretty good for like.
So it's just a goddamn sword though.
It's a bit better. Than
I just can't. I want to cut stuff in half. It's a lightsaber.
You have to get to higher levels to do that.
So it's like a training lightsaber, I guess. You haven't got all the kyber crystals yet. It's just kind of sputtering a little bit.
Yeah, it's more like a really strong electric
Yeah,
laser kind of feel.
it's like really bright. You just kind of blind people for now.
2d8 plus the brain is still really good as a starting weapon.
And there's a lot of different ways to boost it up, especially as time goes on.
Just saying, Obi-Wan was like a Padawan or some crap, and he cut Darth Maul in half. So.
And they also pretty much don't are not subject to damage reduction of any sort.
All right.
But already, it sounds pretty OP to me.
They are very nice weapons, and Force users are kind of the most broken part of the game.
Okay. Have you Force choked anybody yet?
No, because I am not a dark side user.
Well, yeah, but just between us. When you're away from the
No, I
party.
have not yet Force choked anybody.
Okay. Luke did it in Return of the Jedi. Just saying.
He did, but
Big
they, for some reason, arbitrarily decided that was a dark side power, and I'm trying not to use dark side powers.
Okay. Well, I would follow the example of our Lord and Savior Luke Skywalker, who I'm sure has become a deific figure 600 years in the future. But
Haven't specifically asked the Dungeon Master about that, but I'm pretty sure he has.
All right. Well, so I think you choke somebody, and then if they give you crap about it, you tell them,
Well,
"Oh yeah,
here's the thing.
if you
it's
look
not
at the
really-
ancient texts."
Here's the thing. Really, it's like it's not really. Don't think of it as force choking. It's like you can pick stuff up and move it, right? And even you can move the air molecules, and all you're doing is moving them. Unfortunately, you're moving them in such a way as that it constricts.
Yeah, it just happened to be in the way. I was trying to hit that light switch.
That's just
And his throw was in the way. I can't help that. These things happen.
like taking a blind turn. Sometimes you can have a fender bender.
All right,
With
okay.
somebody's-
Jumpa, you do that and report back to us how that goes.
The last two D&D updates, the Empire of the Sun campaign is on hold for a bit because apparently we've gotten so far off track that the Dungeon Master isn't sure what to do.
Is that the Japanese one?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm not
is some
surprised that's how it's
rewinding
going.
of things.
Okay.
The Endless Dungeon campaign is going better. We might be playing that one this Saturday, or we might be doing another session of mine.
Okay.
I can give a more detailed update of what's going on in my campaign in a future video when we have more time.
You'll have 3 months to work with. Basically.
Yes. I'm hoping to have the campaign done by then.
Oh, we're back. Weekly. It's happening.
All right. Okay, I like that. Weekly.
And before we get to the topic du jour of the night, I want to say that Friday I am going to be doing my all-day playthrough of Ocarina of Time.
Oh, excellent.
I'll have to tune in for some of that.
Yeah, if you guys can tune in for any of that,
I
will.
will.
Love it.
Yes, I'm in.
There will be like a 1 hour intermission at some point for me to get food and a drink. But
You could take an hour and 15 if you really want to.
You could, yeah. I think, man, you take as much time as you need.
I'm expecting it to take at least 12 hours to get through the game, so I'm planning to start at noon and end at around 1.
Oh boy.
Excellent. Well, I'm
I
excited
may
about Friday.
start earlier just to give myself a bit of a buffer for various bits of that game that give me trouble.
Smart. That would be smart.
All right, so how much time do we have for our topic of the evening? How far
We
along
are
we
at 40-ish minutes.
Okay, that's pretty
Okay.
good.
If we end up not taking that long with it, I can do a little bit more description on D&D stuff or
There we go.
random stuff.
So this is a topic I think we've been wanting to do for quite a long time.
Indeed.
And it's kind of basically we got to talking about in particular kind of NES games and how kind of the sequels to those games tended to be vastly different than the original games.
Yes.
You're looking at Zelda, Legend of Zelda to Zelda 2, Super Mario to Super Mario Brothers 2, but everyone knows why that was different because it was a different game. Castlevania to Castlevania 2, I believe, is another one. And then kind of seeing the third one almost always kind of are widely regarded as some of the best games in the series. Super Mario Brothers 3, Link to the Past, Castlevania 3, Simon's Quest, as kind of refinements or perfecting the systems of the first game without much of that second game moving forward. I mean, you don't really, very few people have much love for Zelda 2 at least, but you haven't seen many of those RPG kind of strict RPG mechanics, I would say, in terms of like leveling up and choosing magic versus health. You know, maybe you could say Breath of the Wild did that a little bit in the stamina versus health upgrades with the shrine orbs, but even that's kind of a very loose relation to that.
And I hope they do somewhat refine some of the mechanics in the next game and sort of iron out a few kinks that I personally feel were in Breath of the Wild.
I think what we hope for the next Zelda game would be a great topic on its own for sure. Because I definitely have some thoughts on what I would like to see in the next iteration of that. But kind of going back to like how that kind of philosophy, philosophy might be too strong of a word, but that fact that the sequels were so different from the previous games kind of went away to where you're seeing much more kind of refinement as the philosophy going forward. I think about like Assassin's Creed for sure. You know, any series you can think of, right? You know, that's a modern creation. Doesn't seem to have these core entries in it that are wildly different.
No, you don't really do that anymore.
Yeah, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because if you think about it, people don't really like Castlevania 2, Zelda 2, or Super Mario Brothers 2 compared to the ones around it. But,
it does sort of happen sometimes. Like, we are very fond of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and that's very different from this.
But that wasn't like Final Fantasy 13.
Right.
Correct.
Right. But that's already, yeah. So I do definitely agree that it's a good thing to like. I think it's good kind of regardless whether it's in the main series or an offshoot to allow people to kind of play within the space of the worlds that they've created. But just kind of what we think about, whether we'd like to see kind of some of that experimentation in, I guess let's say mainline series kind of thing, or if that refinement aspect is maybe a little bit of a better way to go in terms of ending up with some of the great games we can think about, like Mass Effect 2 is widely regarded as one of the greatest games of the last 15 years or so. Assassin's Creed 2 was very highly regarded. Those types of things.
Breath of the Wild is definitely a divergence from how
yes
Zelda games were up until that point, and I think it's one of the most successful Zeldas of all time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of, because there's a recent thing on Twitter about naming your 3 favorite Zelda games, and so many of the responses I saw Breath of the Wild, and I wonder how that's going to change as time, if that is going to change as time goes on. Because for my part, it's not in my top 3. I enjoyed it a lot, but it's something that I'm hoping to see kind of refinement of, or addition of some of those older Zelda elements back into it to really make the game that I'm looking for. But like in terms of world exploration and that sort of stuff, the world to explore, it was fantastic. But
it was probably in my top 5, but definitely not top 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. But if you think about it, from Zelda 2 to Breath of the Wild was a good 20, 30-ish years. So quite a bit in terms of the main line going back to going, let's throw out the formula. But Val, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think we can all agree that the best Zelda game is the Game Boy one where the fish and you wake up on the island.
Link's Awakening, okay.
Yeah, that's...
You're staying topical because the remake of that's coming out this year. I get it.
Yeah, you got me.
So.
So I think that sadly I think you need to have a better mix of changing versus refining than we're currently seeing, because the exception right now is something like Breath of the Wild, rather than that being the rule.
Mm-hmm.
Now the refining thing is good for like a second and a third game. I think that's the reason, like when you have a good system in place and then you refine it. So like I'm really excited. I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, but it looks awesome. But listening to your guys' complaints about it, that's the kind of thing that a sequel is good for. Is you can take what was an imperfect system, something they've tried out that's brand new, make it better, and have like a much better experience for 2. But once you get to, for instance, like Call of Duty 10 or something like that, I think there's a lot of things where they stop trying to even change the system. And they try to pump out something that's within the franchise, and that people are afraid to actually make those big changes that you need to keep a game fresh, or to keep, I don't know.
So the Call of Duty is an interesting example, because that is kind of a thing where the changes they do have made from game to game, like, because they have 3 rotating studios, I think now, making those games, and like I think it was Infinite Warfare, whatever, the one that went to space. That the
one that went to space.
That the traversal was like very different, like, and it was kind of a deviation from that game, but it was so, shit on, and just like and something to that effect that it's almost like the people who still buy Call of Duty games don't want, that kind of. So I think it's a interesting balance as to like building up enough goodwill that people are willing to follow you into a different game thing, like I think Zelda people were with, like, just give us a Zelda game, we'll play it. Versus also, if you go too far, that people are just like, I just want my comfort thing, don't change it.
Right.
There's also just like an ongoing internet joke that whenever a franchise goes to space, it's officially jumped the shark. Which, in a lot of cases, I can see why that's a rule of thumb.
Well, and a lot of it, I mean, we're moving into an interesting new world where at some point, like something like a Call of Duty, like, they've kind of explored the space as much as they can, and the only thing they can do that's new within the space is to do something crazy, like, and it's funny that I'm using the word the space, but either they can just completely go crazy or nuts with it like that, or really all they're doing is they're updating guns and maps.
It's a Madden, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. I mean, all they're doing is updating. Yeah, they're updating a roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, the space only has so much. Again, unless you want to like wildly change mechanics or the things that, like, I think of it like a film or a sitcom franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to season 11 or something, there's only so much you can say about the same group.
Yes, yeah, and in particular, like a military FPS, like there's not like we're gonna make it into a card game, sort of thing. Like, I don't think the Call of Duty universe like has the richness to support different kind of game types, but yes, but we are kind of seeing. Well, I guess we have seen, the Mario universe. That guy does everything. But it was kind of an interesting time period. I think, at least in the NES time, where you saw those games where, they had a successful first game, and then it was almost like, I think I've read or listened to some interviews to the fact that they didn't want to cannibalize the first game's continued like sales with the second game. Although you didn't see that, like, the original Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan was a refinement of Super Mario Bros. 1, but because it was just absolutely brutal, they didn't release that in the U.S., which for all the we can handle it, was probably the right call in 1980, whatever. But
yeah, I do think it's funny you brought up the idea of like turning Call of Duty into a card game, and now I'm just imagining them suddenly introducing a triple triad equivalent.
Oh. As long as it's got that music, I'm in. But I guess like a Warcraft, like a Blizzard does this kind of stuff where they've got Warcraft has, well, I guess you had at World of Warcraft, spawned out of the real-time strategy game Warcraft, and they made it Hearthstone, a card game in that universe. So
back on the Zelda thing for a moment. This is a bit more of a cult classic than a lot of other games, but Majora's Mask was definitely a change from Ocarina of Time.
Oh, definitely. That's true. That's true.
And it is, even though it's got like a much smaller faction of people who enjoy it, myself included, it changed a lot of things, and I think it is a better experience for it. Like, Twilight Princess feels very Ocarina of Timey, but
Yes.
I would rather replay Ocarina of Time than replay Twilight Princess, and I'd rather replay Majora's Mask than replay Twilight Princess, because Majora's Mask is trying to do something different, both in terms of a mechanic standpoint and a story standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Twilight Princess is an interesting example, because that's definitely something you could definitely tell they were like, okay, fine. Even though the Wind Waker was awesome, we'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
And, and I enjoy Twilight Princess, at the time, but I don't go back to it, like you said, like I do to Ocarina of Time, like to Wind Waker. Majora's Mask is one I need to play, but it's interesting that I would say the two cult classic Zelda games, Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening, were both kind of Link's Awakening started as like a after hours project by a team that just wanted to mess around with the Game Boy engine.
Oh, that's cool.
There's actually a really good, it's the Gaming Historian on YouTube. He does very interesting videos of these kind of things, and I think he recently did one on Link's Awakening. And I think Majora's Mask was a similar thing in they're like, well, we want to, we made all these assets for Ocarina of Time. Let's go do something interesting. Yeah. And those kind of resulted in the two kind of underground most popular Zelda games. So.
And I think
and Link's Awakening, best game of all time. So,
and I think there's also just something to be said about trying something different and failing than going back to the same old well over and over again.
It's something. Whereas I guess I don't know if I was ever like this to begin with, but as I've gotten older, I'm not going to get like angry necessarily at a game being bad if it's a shot at something. If they're trying, if they say we're going to try this, I'm willing to kind of do that and go, well, I like that you tried.
For everyone who is watching, I was not implying Majora's Mask is bad.
No, but it's an interesting point. So,
Doc, can you look at this picture I sent you, because it's important.
Okay.
I don't know if we can put it on the stream, but I don't know. I really like this. This is one of those, what I imagine is knockoff. It's really funny. It's a knockoff.
Slam dunk. Chicago balls.
NyQuil Jordan.
NyQuil.
Another sequel that kind of, well, I don't know if you would call it a sequel as such. It's because Mario just kind of does its own thing, but like going from, say, Super Mario 64 to Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Paper Mario is one of my favorite games of all time.
The willingness to kind of this probably relates to the fact that the Mario world, such that it is not as serious of a thing as even like the Zelda universe. So like Mario, like the great thing about that is that you put him in anything, Nintendo just isn't as precious about that in terms of a timeline or anything like that. So I think that attitude opens it up to being a lot of cool different Mario experiences where actually allows your character to become even more ubiquitous, because you think about Mario Kart, Mario Paint, Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, like all these things.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah. All that's 5 or 6 different game types right there, and all great games, and ones that probably got more of a shot than they would have if they didn't have Mario in them.
Right.
So.
And like on the topic of just franchises needing to change over time, I'm glad they're doing different things with the Pokemon franchise, because it does get a little bit boring just essentially playing the same game over and over again.
Yeah, that's true. Pokemon is definitely an example of ones that they're kind of just, and I think I've heard people people say that Nintendo talks about it as like Pokemon is always supposed to be kids' first RPG, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's keeping it that.
Right.
That's it. I get it, and also who am I to talk? I've played most of them, and enjoyed most of them. But kind of the interesting thing there is now they've kind of built up such that reputation that they don't have to change much
No.
to be thought of as, oh wow, they're really changing it up. Like this
Innovating.
this wild area with the free camera control, everyone's like, oh wow. And it's like that's something, that's not at all old, but adding that into a game as refined and as well polished as Pokemon is going to be something.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes innovation within the framework of a series is just that. It's borrowing elements from, Breath of the Wild, it's not like they're the first one to have a open world environment, right?
Yes,
It's just,
yes.
But succeeding at that when you have this stable foundation of other elements already in place, I mean, that's the real crux of it. I mean, for instance, one thing that upsets me, nothing upsets me, like you were talking about. It doesn't upset me if they try something new. What does upset me is when in the course of trying something new, they don't release a complete product or they release a poorly done product. So, for instance, Fallout 78 or 87 or
76. Yep.
Whatever. I didn't even buy it. I've heard such bad things that I'm not gonna.
The release of that was no good. And you're right. That was going to be a different Fallout experience for sure, but it was just so half baked that you never even got to really see what they were actually going for.
I forget if they had a similar issue to one of my favorite games, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, where the parent company just did not give them any time to actually put together a proper game.
It's probably more excusable for Knights of the Old Republic 2 because Bethesda can eat a delay.
Yeah,
they've got enough in the chamber to be able to do that.
I think Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 was not only an EA issue, because God does EA suck, but they had 18 months to make a sequel to one of the most well-received games in the entire franchise.
Not a ton of time.
No. Which I think is also what happened to Fable 3.
Fable 3 was bad.
But I think the Fable franchise in general is an entirely different thing.
But I do like because going back to Breath of the Wild, kind of the derisive comment online was about how they were about 6 or 8 years too late to the, see that mountain, you can go there and climb that mountain selling point, which was done, years ago with, Skyrim. But I found myself I explored way more of that world in Breath of the Wild than I not to say that Skyrim was bad, but just for my taste, it held my attention so much more than Skyrim did, because the climbing and all that stuff was actually, I don't want to say well thought out. Yeah, well thought out, but because Skyrim mountain climbing was I just bunny hopped,
right?
Yeah,
at a certain angle, so it didn't feel like I was actually.
Did you try to take your horse up there or jump?
Yeah, and you can take your horse up there to, just at the 45-degree angle. But and just something about that level of polish or thought or whatever. I don't want to feel like I'm dunking on Skyrim too much, because that's obviously a very good game in a different way.
Especially the time it came out.
But it's important to kind of resist the urge, like you were saying, to kind of be dismissive of something that's maybe not adding something wholly new, but new to the series itself can still be revelatory.
Well, here's the thing. It's far more valuable to me to do something well within a space that's already been explored than it is to try to be original for the sake of being original. I mean, unless you're truly trying to say something new and you fail at that, that's one thing. But I mean, even Skyrim's not the first, or even Bethesda's not the first person to come up with the concept of what if you can go anywhere in the world. I mean, if we're looking at that, then you can do that in Mario 64, right? Basically anything you can see. I mean, it's not, again, there's a structured storyline. I mean, these are,
I was just looking up what was the actual first open world video game.
Okay.
Released in Japan at around the same time in 1984.
Ooh.
The action playing games Hide Glide and Courageous Perseus. were the first true open world video games in the modern sense of the word.
Plus, if you want to think about it, the idea of an open world game is not really revolutionary. That's just what
No.
life is.
Yeah.
It's actually much harder to come up with a structured
Yeah.
system that works well than it is to say you can go anywhere and do anything whenever you want. Right? I mean,
Yeah. The obsession with anything, trying to describe anything as like wholly new, is basically a fallacy because everything is built on everything else. Like, and that's fine. It's just
it is fine.
you know,
Exactly.
realizing that is a key factor to I think enjoying games more probably. But what I think we're really trying to say is that we want Super Monkey Ball to come back, right? That's really what we're getting at, right? That was the lead up.
I don't remember.
Super Monkey Ball. Everyone wants more Super Monkey Ball. Is what I'm trying.
Everyone wants more Super Monkey Ball.
It's a great game.
And more Ogre Battle.
Which brings us almost exactly to an hour, right?
I think so.
So, as always, we're going to end this by taking your questions on all of the tough topics we've raised today. Like a lot of brain teasers.
Feels like we should actually try to get questions one of these days. Like ask people beforehand or something.
I was actually just thinking about that. I've got some friends I can ask. I have a friend who does their own videos that I'm sure I could just...
I'm going to be honest, Young Blade, I was saying that entirely kind of shoving that onto you. I'm glad you saw through my my thinly veiled attempt.
Well, that was our question, and Doc's question is, Junkblade, can you do this? And yes.
Excellent.
Well, our other question is, mind if I get some advice? And he did not.
Yeah.
But he never actually asked what.
No, that's his question, and we said, everyone gets one question, and if your question is, do you mind if I ask a question? And we say yes, that's it. So,
yeah.
No, we don't mind. Anyway, on that note, this has been episode 47, Amiibo. We're No Shots Fired for both Junkblade and Doc. I'm down. Thanks for stopping by. We will see you again in probably less than 3 months.
Well, that's what we'll shoot for.